If you don't know it, I'm sorry. But Parker Blake is in the chat. He is in the room. He is a part of Chatterbox Bengals now. Parker, thank you for joining the show, first and foremost. I'm sure you caught the tail end of us sitting here bickering, yelling back and forth about running backs' importance. We won't start with that because you're more important. You have more important things to talk about because Reed obviously means that the running back position means nothing. But your expertise, if you will, Parker, I have a couple quick questions here. Is the offensive line, is that correct?
I'd like to say that, yes.
All right. So offensive line is obviously your strong point. We'll get into that in just a minute. But more importantly, you're from Utah. I do want to ask the question. You're from Utah and you're a Bengals fan. Can you walk me through how in the world that even came to be and what the story is behind that?
Yeah, no, so I was born in Lexington out in Kentucky, obviously. And, I grew up, I had Reds gear, I had Bengals gear, and then we just moved back out here when I was a young kid. And I'm a loyal fan, as all of us Cincinnati folks are. We're loyal fans. And so I just stuck with it, that great run they had there in the, 2000s. If you couldn't catch the sarcasm, then that's on you. But, I'm here now, and I'm grateful that I'm here. And then my wife, she's been a Bengals fan for like 2 years now. And, I make fun of her all the time for that. She just came on as a bandwagon. So.
Well, sometimes it's timing is everything, Parker. Timing is everything. So if you've just started finding the Bengals and being a fan of late, that seems like pretty good timing, in my opinion. All right, the offensive line, something that people want to always say, hey, you need depth, you need depth, you need depth. The Bengals have been kind of bit by the injury bug the last few years, if you will, by the offensive line having injuries. Your overall, I guess, general assessment on the offensive line, and then, of course, the Jackson Carman debate. We'll let you answer that on the back end of where you think he stands and what his future is as a Cincinnati Bengal.
No, for sure. I think we all feel pretty confident in the first five that we have. Brown, Volson, Teddy, Kappa. And even Jonah. I know there's been a lot of talk about Jonah Williams, but I think from what we've seen, what we saw last week, and what we've seen through clips of camp, or if you've been at camp, I think he looks just fine out there. And then I think depth-wise, this is one of the better positions they've been in. I think they have a guy in Deontay Smith that can be a very serviceable swing tackle. I think he's got potential to even battle for that right tackle spot next year. And then, we have a guy in Mag Sharping that's really putting a lot of work this year to be fourth interior O-line guy and battle Trey Hill for that backup center role. So, I think overall we're looking pretty good. The game day, they usually bring 8 anyway, the 5 starters, the 3 guys on the bench, and that's 7 guys right there that I feel very confident in moving forward with. And then, that third guy, just comes down to what the Bengals want. And the 9th guy, and then I think we there's kind of a consensus that, as you're constructing your 53-man roster, that we're going to keep Lyle Collins, bring him back from the pup as that 10th guy. So I think they're pretty set, and I think they have a really good group. Personally, I'm really excited. I've seen a lot of good things in preseason from these depth guys. I have really high hopes for what this group looks like in the regular season. And just overall, I'm feeling pretty good. As far as Jackson Carman goes, I think we all kind of know what we're going to get out of him. I'm glad that the Jonah Williams versus Jackson Carman debate is over because that was ridiculous to start with. You got a seasoned veteran in the NFL and then a guy that, was a healthy scratch for a majority of last year. So I think that conversation's settled. Personally, I hope we can get like a Billy Price type deal done, get Carman out of here, bring in a guy, like Jonathan Taylor to make Reed happy, and then we'll be set. We'll go win 4 Super Bowls and all be happy.
Where is your take on that? Obviously, I go a little overboard on the running back situation because I have guys in the office that obviously devalue it completely, and so I feel like I have to go too far maybe on my end one way to try to prove my point. However, your overall assessment and opinion about the running back position that you currently have, and then I guess what would you say to the people that says the Bengals are right there on the edge? And depth's never a bad thing. If you can find a deal to go get a guy that's been proven as one of the best running backs in the league, and Jonathan Taylor, maybe you should do it. I don't know where you're at on that thought process, but your overall thoughts on, I kind of guess, that topic of conversation.
Yeah, no, I think being an O-line guy inherently, like, you're going to devalue the running back because you look at what Dallas did. If you have a good enough O-line, it doesn't really matter who you have in the backfield. And I think that goes for pretty much any position. If you have a great quarterback like a Tom Brady, it doesn't really matter who you have a wide receiver because they'll make it work. But I do think there's a place in the world for these high-paid running backs, these high-value running backs. But, unless you're getting rid of Mixon and bringing in Taylor, who, again, You guys talked about he wants an extension. He's going to want to go to a team that's not just going to be a 1-year rental deal, which I mean, he'd be great as a 1-year rental if they get him for a little cheaper. But if you're going to bring in a guy like that, you're going to have to extend him. You're going to have to clear out the room. You can keep Chase Brown, you can keep Travion, you can keep Evans if you want to keep Evans. But I think you can't. I think it's too crowded right now to risk getting rid of somebody just to have JT and Mixon in the backfield. I don't know. That's just kind of where I sit on that topic, I guess, where the O-line looks good, and whoever we have in the backfield is going to look pretty solid just because they're going to they're going to open up some lanes. This run game is going to be solid. Schematically, they've changed to make it work a little better. But overall, I think, who the guy they have there is just fine for now. We'll obviously figure out that situation when it comes. Hopefully they can get a guy in the draft, and we don't have to go pay someone like we've been doing on the O-line.
Okay, that's fair. I harken back to a question that I was thinking before the show. I wonder if I have a little bit of pull around here, not enough as much as I'd like to say that I have. Do you feel like you're the third wheel on Chatterbox Bengals at all? Do we gotta nudge those guys, get you on the screen a little bit more? When are you making your appearance on Chatterbox Bengals with just Eric and Game On?
Yeah, no. So I coach high school football, so these Friday games, I have to watch them late. I'm not able to be a part of the Chatterbox crew. However, I'm really excited to hop on this week. Let everyone know that the O-line is the most important position and, the most exciting position to watch, even though, one of those is definitely a lie. But I wouldn't say I feel like the third wheel. However, right now, I do feel like the little redheaded stepchild. They went out and had a great show, and I'm just sitting here biding my time, waiting for everyone to show me the love that those two great guys get because they have awesome personalities, and I'm like a 2x4. So hopefully I'm not bringing up the rear, but I don't think I'm ever going to, Game On's got a lot of energy. I think he's going to be that energy guy. I don't think I can bring what he can bring. He's got the juice, man.
Yeah, Game On certainly gets excited. The final question that I have for you before we go here, and I turn it over to Casey perhaps and or Elliot and Reed to ask you the final parting questions as Bengal fans. I do want to say to you, you probably may or may not know this, I am a Packer fan. So my fandom for the Bengals, my knowledge for the Bengals is not nowhere near as it would be for the Cincinnati Reds. But that being said, in your opinion, Collinsworth just said yesterday, I believe, on the Dan Patrick Show, that he believes that this is the year the Cincinnati Bengals finally get over the hump. In your opinion, not to have you be negative or pessimistic, but if you do believe that, what do you think that the ultimate reason as to why they wouldn't be the Super Bowl champions if you do think that they will win the Super Bowl?
Yeah, I really think it just comes down to if they can make this new scheme work. I mean, we're putting Frank Pollock as the run game coordinator in a weird spot because, he's traditionally been a wide zone guy. We're making him convert to the gap scheme, but they have, gone through a full personnel change up front. I think they're pretty deep on the D line. But if we're talking about what, would inhibit them from getting, even to the AFC Championship or through the AFC Championship, it's going to be defensive because I feel like this offense has really come together. They have a lot of great weapons. They're going to give Joe Burrow, who's got one of the quickest time to throw in the league, a lot of time to start dissecting defenses. This offense is going to be good. But if this defense can't figure it out, I know they've retained their linebackers. I've talked a lot the last couple of weeks about how their second string D-line could be a starting D-line for a lot of teams in the league. But if this back end can't figure it out, and I know Lou Anarumo likes to have them kind of control the defense, make sure everyone's in the right spot, make adjustments, all of that good stuff. If they can't figure it out on the back end, and honestly, the thing that's inhibited this team previously, if they can't stay healthy, because the big thing that I think a lot of people need to talk more about is the best way to get to the Super Bowl, to get to the final dance, is health and luck. And the Bengals were one of the unluckiest teams, especially Joe Burrow last year. He just, wasn't getting the ball bouncing his way. And then we had all those health issues coming down the stretch. We lost Chidobe Awuzie early. It was just, there's all these other pieces that go into it that the Bengals just haven't seemed to, survive, honestly. And if they aren't able to stay healthy this year, which I know obviously you can't really control that much, but if they can stay healthy, I think that's number one. And number two, even if they do stay healthy, if we're getting burned on the back end of the defense, every game, or we're just really getting in shootouts every week, that's not a sustainable model for success. So they have to stay healthy. They have to, at least get back to average on the luck scale, because I guess that's an actual stat now. And then overall, if just everything just keeps clicking, keeps moving, and there's not really a lot of frustration of whether it's play calling or, game planning or scheme or all those other words that, football guys like to use. If all of that comes together, and that's a lot. It's a lot of different variables. But if all of that comes together, they're going to make it. But it's very hard to get all of those things to line up every single year, and they just haven't seemed to, have that ever happen for them.
Fair enough. Casey McAllister, obviously a very knowledgeable Bengal fan, has a question for you that he wants to ask.
Yeah, I actually got two for you. First question is, so what do you think they're going to do with Lyle Collins? Because he's just kind of sitting back there right now, taking up some cap space, and it seems like they got the right tackle figured out. What do you think is going to happen there?
Yeah, what we need to remember is his contract is heavily incentivized around game checks, right? So if he's not on the active roster, because coming in he had a bunch of health issues, so if he's not on the active game day roster, we're actually saving money from his overall contract. I know his base is around 4.5 to 5, and that's not really significant in the grand scheme of things, or pieces of the pie, as everyone's been talking about ever since Back Together Day. But I think what they should do, I don't know, I obviously don't know what they're planning to do, but if we can get him on the pup for a few weeks, let him get fully healthy. I know everyone wants to say, oh, well, when he comes back and he's fully healthy, let's just put him in for Jonah. But I think, there's a chemistry aspect to that people don't think about. But if Collins can take this full year, right, this full season, and just kind of rest, maybe be in those jumbo sets, maybe just kind of be a veteran presence in the locker room and just get back to 100, like a true 100%, not the 100% that we saw last year, but a true 100% healthy, rehabbing from the knee, the hip, the back, like every old guy has to once they get to a certain age. If we can get him 100% healthy, I think we're going to have a very solid right tackle again next year when, inevitably Jonah Williams isn't back with the team.
Gotcha. And the scheme that they're planning on running, it's a power scheme, right? It's like a lot of counters, a lot of pulling.
Yep.
Do you think that's really going to make a difference for Joe Mixon? I mean, like, scheme-wise, it seemed like he did better in power and in years past. So is it safe to assume that he's going to do better this year?
Yeah, and I think the benefit they're going to have, and again, it's just the whole conversation of what's more important, the running back or the O-line or the scheme, but they've gone through a full personnel overhaul in the last couple of years. They went from having these smaller guys, more athletic guys to run that zone scheme to getting these big maulers, like Kappa, like Bolson, like Brown, who can just get in there and kind of bully guys, get those, I always call them free yards when we're just driving the D-line off the line of scrimmage to get the running back, yards before contact, right? And that's where I think the power game with the personnel, the gap scheme, with the new personnel they have is going to be a lot more effective just overall for the run game. I don't know if it necessarily makes Joe Mixon better, but it definitely is probably going to make him look better statistically, just because I think he's going to be – I would be surprised if his yards before contact number isn't impressive this season, if that makes any sense. I think that's the benefit that they get out of the gap scheme.
Yeah, and my last question, I said it, I only had two, I got three. Last year, the offensive line did not play in the preseason. Now, I was a guy that said that didn't matter, that they shouldn't have played. The people that said they should have kind of looked like they were right. What are your thoughts on it? Do you think they should be maybe taking a drive the last game of this preseason?
Well, what we have to remember from, the slow start they had last year is don't just look at it as, oh, Joe Burrow's getting pressure, Joe Burrow's getting sacked, whatever stat you want to pull. But you have to also remember, and I put this out on Twitter, at the time, it's X now, but I put this out on Twitter last season when I was first, getting going with all my O-line talk on that platform. And you can't talk bad about Joe Burrow. I learned that very quickly. But if you look through those first couple of weeks, I wouldn't even blame the O-line as a whole. It's more, Joe Burrow was coming off of a major surgery. He was coming into a season, honestly a little late. He did lose that offseason, unlike this year how he, didn't actually lose the offseason even though he's not at camp. He might not be at practice. He's still working. He's still getting his work in. He hasn't lost all that weight. He still is the same Jack Joe Burrow that we all saw beginning of camp. And I think last year he just felt uncomfortable. He was in the pocket. He was holding the ball for a long time. When he wasn't holding the ball, he was throwing it to the guys in black and yellow week one. That was a bad game from him, and I think it was just kind of getting back into that football group because he hadn't played football. Whereas this year, he's going to come in a lot better, and I don't think I mean, I think people undervalue the amount of reps this team is getting together during camp, during the preseason, whether or not they're playing in games. I know there's a whole conversation about getting live reps, live bullets, whatever you want to call it. But you also have to remember this Bengals defense is pretty legit. And so they're getting very high quality reps just in practice against their own guys. This isn't like some of these other teams going into practice and they're playing scrubs on scrubs, or maybe you have a high quality offense and a very average to below average defense that you're working against. So you need those live reps against better quality talent. The Bengals are playing a top 5 defense in practice every day, and that's, I think, more than plenty for them to come in and feel ready to go week 1.
Hey, Parker. Yeah, I had a question. So I'm going to take these off real quick. So last year, one of the big storylines was the Bengals not being able to get the home field advantage in the playoffs, not getting the 1 seed, not having really the chance for it. How many wins would you project the Bengals would need to get this season to get that seed? Because you look at the AFC. The AFC is tough right now. It's incredibly tough. It's incredibly competitive in pretty much every division except for the AFC South. You go to the NFC, there's not a lot of talent anywhere, especially the NFC North. It's just a terrible division over there. It's just 49ers, Eagles. How many wins would you project right now the Bengals get? And how many would you project would be needed to get the 1 seed?
Yeah, and I think that conversation gets really tough because, you have the AFC East. They have some decent competition over there, and that's, I think, similar to the AFC North, which obviously the AFC North is the best division in football. I don't even know who even plays in the NFC North. I think there's some green team up there. I've never heard of them. But I do think with the Chiefs being in a division that's a little softer, they're going to – it's what we talked about down the backstretch of last season where they had to win some games that were very unlikely for them to – they had to lose some games in the Bengals' favor at the end of last season against some teams that, weren't really highly competitive. And even towards the end of the season, you start to lose kind of that mojo. And so it's hard because the Bengals need at least, I feel like, 11 or 12 to even win the division. And so when you're talking about that 1 seed, it's almost turning into college football where if you have, 1 to 3 losses, you're in a situation where you're probably not getting that 1 seed just because some of the schedules these other teams have. So, you got to put it at around 15-ish just to be in contention for that 1 seed. And that's where it gets a little rough down the stretch because I think the number is around 15.
Really? I have one more question. I see in the background there's some sort of animal cage of some sort, animal box. What is it? Is that a snake?
Yeah, no. So it's my wife's gecko.
Okay.
This is Milo. He's my play-by-play assistant over here. He's got a lot of great takes back there. He's asleep right now, or I'd pull him out and let him talk to the people. But
does the gecko give
just a leopard gecko?
Does the gecko give gambling picks?
Yes, and they're awful. Don't listen to them.
Okay, all right. Then I won't. Okay, I won't. I won't.
My bank account definitely does not agree with a lot of the picks that he makes, so that's why he's just a play-by-play guy. We'll leave the gambling to my small brain.
Fair enough, Parker. Thank you for coming on the show. I do want to remind you and let you know, though, before you get off here, that you said that Tom Brady, probably doesn't need receivers. He did get one receiver, though, in 2007 when they won, every game but one. I know you're going to say maybe they didn't win the Super Bowl, so blah, 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 blah. But he did have a guy named Randy Moss, and he threw the most – it just so coincidentally, he threw the most touchdowns that he's ever thrown in his entire career the year that he had Randy Moss. But that's here nor there. Sometimes, I guess, maybe just having really good players around you helps everybody else out. I don't know. Jonathan Taylor, I don't know. Maybe you should consider it. I want you to sleep on it, Parker. Let me know what your thoughts on maybe tomorrow.
Will do.
All right. Thank you, Parker. Parker, for those that don't know, you can find him, Parker Blake, on Twitter. And more importantly, he's going to be also on Chatterbox Bengals with Game On and Just Eric. They did a really good – I'm not just saying this because it's our stuff. They did a really nice job for their first show.